It was just another Saturday morning at Solaria Resort, or so I thought. The sun was barely up, casting that golden light through the glass skylights. The waiters were doing their rounds, perfecting every detail, napkins folded just right, silverware aligned like clockwork. The staff moved silently, almost reverently, like they were tiptoeing around royalty. And in the middle of all this, there she was, Camille Whitmore. The same Camille who, only days earlier, had made Tarek Carter's life a leave-wying hell in class. But now, she was sitting there, in the exclusive resort's breakfast terrace, acting like the queen of the world, fuming over a breakfast she couldn't even be pleased with. Croissants too flaky. The berries sour. Eggs Benedict too cafeteria-like. She snapped her fingers, and the waiters jumped like trained dogs. A glass of cucumber water too warm? She threw it at the server with a flick of her wrist. Everything was beneath her, and everyone around her knew it. Power wasn't something she had earned. It was something inherited. She didn't need to lift a finger to get what she wanted. But what she didn't know yet was that today, her arrogance would meet its match. And that match would come in the form of a boy. A boy who had learned to stay quiet in the face of mockery, to walk with dignity when the world tried to tear him down. His name? Tarek Carter. Tarek wasn't one to draw attention to himself. A 12-year-old black boy who had already learned the painful art of staying invisible in a world that wanted to label him as different. His mother had reserved a suite at Solaria, and Tarek was just here to check in. But to Camille, it was an affront. She saw him calmly walking toward the front desk, the epitome of composure, and something inside her snapped. She couldn't stand it. This boy, this help, standing where people like her, people of wealth and power, belonged. She saw it immediately. Tarek didn't fit the mold she had created for the world. She stormed over to the desk, her voice loud and dripping with disdain as she called out, "What exactly is going on here?" The receptionist, Monica, looked up nervously. Tarek's calm demeanor didn't even falter. He recognized Camille's voice before he even saw her. He didn't flinch, didn't hesitate. He turned to her with the same quiet dignity he carried with him every day. "Excuse me," Camille continued, her words cutting through the silence in the lobby like a knife. "Is someone going to explain why this person is standing at the front desk like he belongs here? This is a 5-star resort, not a daycare, not a job fair, not some charity outreach program." Monica, stunned but trying to remain professional, was caught off guard. "He has a reservation under," she started, but Camille cut her off, her voice sharp as a whip. "If you check him in, I swear my father will have your badge, your uniform, and your last paycheck shredded before lunch. You understand?" Tarek stood still, the weight of her words not making him shrink, but only solidifying his calm resolve. "My mother booked the suite," Tarek said softly, his voice steady. "I'm just here to check in, like she told me." And then Camille laughed. It was a laugh that wasn't meant to amuse, but to humiliate. "Your mother? Oh, please. What does she do? Run errands for someone important? This is Solaria Resort. Unless your last name is carved into the pillars of this building, you shouldn't even be near the valet. Get it?" Tarek didn't respond. He wasn't about to let her words affect him. His heart wasn't in turmoil. He had learned long ago that those who don't respect you don't deserve your response. But the tension in the air thickened. Something powerful, something real, was about to happen, and neither Camille nor anyone else knew it yet. Just as Monica hesitated, unsure whether to stand by Camille's threats or confirm Tarek's reservation, the doors of the resort swung open. There, stepping in like the embodiment of grace and power, was Tarek's mother, Amelia Carter. She didn't shout. She didn't demand. But her presence, the way she held herself, said it all. She walked into the lobby with calm, measured steps, her eyes immediately locking on Tarek, whose arm was still gripped tightly by Richard Whitmore, the general manager of Solaria Resort. She saw the horror on Monica's face. She saw Camille's smug expression freeze, mid-smirk. And without missing a beat, Amelia's voice rang clear, cutting through the growing tension like a sword. "Take your hand off my son," she said, loud enough for everyone in the lobby to hear. The room fell into an eerie silence. Richard, clearly stunned, loosened his grip on Tarek's arm. Mrs. Carter, too, didn't realize. But Amelia wasn't done. Her voice didn't rise. It didn't need to. She pulled out her black lacquered badge holder and flipped it open smoothly, letting everyone in the room see the executive badge that was her identity, her power. Amelia Carter, Chief Executive Officer of Carter Legacy Hotels. You just physically removed my son from a property I own. The air in the lobby seemed to freeze. The words she spoke didn't just challenge Richard, they rattled the very foundations of power in that moment. Richard's face drained of all color. He wasn't a manager now. He wasn't a man who could stand by his daughter's bullying. He was just a man caught in the crosshairs of someone whose patience had run out. Amelia's eyes didn't waver. She turned to Richard with the calm precision of someone who knew how to handle this situation. You assaulted a registered guest on private property. You humiliated my son in public. You did it in front of witnesses, staff, security cameras, and God himself. And you didn't even bother to ask his name. Then she turned to Camille, who had remained silent up to that point, trying to shrink into her father's shadow. Amelia's words, now sharper than ever, sliced through Camille's defenses. Camille, you may not have laid a hand on him, but what you did was far worse. You threatened staff. You weaponized your father's authority. You lied to have a child removed from a property he had every right to enter. And you did it because, in your mind, someone like him doesn't deserve luxury. The entire lobby had gone still. All eyes were on Amelia as she turned back to the assistant general manager and spoke with finality. Effective immediately, Richard Whitmore is relieved of his duties. His access to hotel systems is revoked. Security will escort him to gather his personal belongings. A formal letter of termination and a CIVIL complaint will follow. Gasps spread through the room. Richard's mouth moved, but no words came out. He had no response. He had no defense. He was done. Amelia turned to the security guard who had come from the hall. Escort Mr. Whitmore off the property. Do not cause a scene. Be more courteous than he was to my son. As Richard was escorted out, Camille stood rooted to the spot, her world crashing around her. Her father's power, once a shield, had been ripped away, Leah vying her exposed. Tarek, who had remained silent throughout the ordeal, finally looked up at his mother. Amelia met his eyes, softening for a moment, before vying him a subtle nod. Let's go check in, she said. And as they walked toward the elevator, the lobby watched them not with pity, not with curiosity, but with respect. And behind them, Richard Whitmore was escorted out of a place he no longer controlled, while his daughter stood in the middle of a marble palace, no longer revered or feared. The weeks following the incident at Solaria Resort were marked by consequences far beyond the confines of the hotel. Richard Whitmore's termination became a symbol of a shift in the power dynamic. His actions, and the actions of those who stood behind him, became a statement of intolerance for arrogance and prejudice. The ripples of Amelia Carter's quiet justice spread far beyond the resort. As for Tarek, he continued his life, excelling and carrying himself with dignity. The world that once ignored him now saw him for who he was, a young man of integrity, strength, and wisdom beyond his years. Camille, stripped of her comforts and privileges, learned a lesson she would never forget. Her world shrank as the luxury she once took for granted disappeared. And though she never apologized, though she never admitted the wrong she had done, the silence of consequence spoke louder than any words ever could. And in the end, the truth was clear. The reckoning had come, and it had come for her. Not through anger, not through revenge, but through justice. What do you think of this story? Do you believe in the power of quiet justice? Do you think people like Camille can change? Or is the weight of leg too heavy to bear? Share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel for more stories like this.